Hello. I am Ivy, and this is the Integrated Witch, formerly Rising Fire Tribe. And if you are here and you want to learn about some tips to help you recreate your practice as a busy person, then you are in the right place. So if you don't know me, I know we've got kind of quite a few new ladies here. I'm Ivy. I am a Covenant priestess for about 15 years. I've been practicing a little over 20. I feel like I myself am a busy witch, so I've had to integrate some of these tips in my own life. So I'm really excited to share some of them with you today. So let's get started. If you are watching the replay, please type replay or CTR in the comments. That really helps me. It helps me be able to see who's actually watching the video, and it helps me actually kind of create and plan for videos going forward. And say hi. Say hi when you're here. Okay. So busy witches. I'm sure that I am not the only person that has a super busy life and sometimes struggles to kind of integrate witchcraft and my witchy path and my beliefs in with all of the things, with work and home life and meal planning. Hi, Liz. And this creature who looks like a dog but acts like a toddler. Hi, Susan. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you were able to come on. Okay, so I understand how hard it can be to just try to get to try to really create this sustainable practice, and while living a normal person life, because you can't really just, if you could just be a witch all day every day, that would be amazing, but you have to pay the bills, you have to make food for yourself, you have to take care of your children or your pet children, and so let's just kind of jump right in and start with tip number 1, which is define your practice. So we talk about practices a lot, and when we're talking about kind of creating our own practices, we have to kind of think about what it is that we want to do. What do you want your practice to actually look like? Now, you might want to have your Insta-perfect practice. There are a lot of Instagram witches, and they have these beautiful altars with everything very carefully put together, and it's just so beautiful. But most of the time, I will tell you that is bullshit. As a witchy business owner who talked to other witchy business owners, it can take 15 minutes to put together that perfect Instagram altar picture. So when you're seeing these images of these beautiful, perfect altars and perfect everything, please know that that's most likely not reality. It takes a long time to set up one of those shots. And when you kind of come into that, when you're thinking about it, you kind of could realize that. So think about what you want your actual practice to look like. Okay. And then kind of tweak it so it's a little bit more realistic. We have all of these ideas I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to do yoga and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And, you might do that once, but if you are not a morning person, and it's really hard for you to do that, and you'd rather do that at night, but everybody else is doing that morning yoga, morning ritual, magical morning, or 5-minute morning. I don't know. There's a book about, mornings and productivity that I started to read, but I'm not a morning person, basically. So if you, align with your own cycles and think about what you can do actually realistically, not this magical practice in your mind. I mean, think about that. Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you. But kind of make it a little bit realistic. And then once you kind of get your brain around that, think about what you can make a priority. Okay. So if you've just joined us, we are on tip number 1, defining your practice. What can you make a priority with your the practice that you want to have? So is it meditation? Is it visualization? Is it reading? Because let's not pretend that reading isn't part of a spiritual practice. Some people like to say, oh, I read books and, that helps me create a spiritual practice. But like, that can be part of your practice. That could, all of these activities, your practice doesn't have to just look like spells and rituals and crystal grids and like whatever people say is cool right now. Reading and kind of gaining knowledge can also be part of your practice. So what can you make a priority, and like what needs to be a priority for you right now? And if you don't know, I suggest journaling. Just write down the question, literally, what needs to be a priority in my practice right now? And then just write what comes to your mind. Don't think about it. Just kind of do a free write. No one's going to grade you. And see kind of what comes up for you. Because for some people, if you're having a lot of anxiety, it might be meditation. If you have some goals that you aren't hitting and you really want to hit them, it could be visualization. So it's going to be different. It's going to look different for everybody. So think about what it is that you want to make your priority. Is it deities? Is it like connection? Is it, actual like witchcraft and learning about spell work? What is your priority? Okay. So that's tip number 1, defining your practice, defining kind of like your ideal and realistic practice. Tip number 2, for busy witches, prepare in advance. Okay. So if you are super busy, like I feel like I'm pretty busy, there are some times where I have little tiny like chunks of free time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But when you have that chunk of free time, it's a good time to kind of plan your practice. So when you're busy, you might not just be able to be like, oh, well, I'm going to just spend 2 hours meditating and doing visualization and light my candles and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like you're like, I have half an hour. Let's get to it. Right. So if you plan in advance what you're going to do for that half hour, you are much more likely to get in there and do what it is you have to do. Especially if you're really busy, you're already kind of used to being on a schedule. So that can be really helpful. So that means personalize your magic. I love it. So that might mean getting a calendar. So get a calendar, or like I do bullet journaling. So here's like my bullet journal. It's kind of a mess, but that's fun. And write down your important dates. So maybe at the beginning of the month, you write down all of the dates that are important to you. So if you celebrate the full moons, or if you want to celebrate the full moon, if you want to celebrate the new moon, if you celebrate the Sabbath ritual, like Sabbath days, write all of that down. Or if you have some days that aren't like part of the regular pagan wheel of the year, or like, that aren't witchy, that are important, that you want to make sure that you put some practice toward, like let's say you have a job interview and you want to do a working for that job interview, schedule yourself some time to kind of work it out, and schedule yourself some time to actually do the working. So that way you can look at your calendar, and it doesn't have to be a physical calendar. It can be like Google Calendar or whatever, but schedule all of your days so you can actually take a look at it alongside all of the other things you have going on. Because if you're not integrating all of the like spiritual days with all of your like mundane stuff you have to do, you're much more likely to kind of push it to the side. When we kind of integrate it and make it part of the normal, like the normalcy, the normal part of our life that we're doing, it makes it a lot more, it makes it easier to kind of just stick to that and to really follow through on our practices. So in addition to kind of planning your days, when you have time, take some time to plan what you want to do. Make notes. This doesn't mean you have to like, sit at your computer for 2 hours and like sketch out your perfect Beltane ritual. Like you don't have to do that, but you can just like take some time. I'm trying to like find something, but just to take some time and like brainstorm something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, look, here's my tips for busy witches live stream outline, right? Like I just wrote down things, and I just did clustering or brainstorming, I think there are a couple, mind mapping, a couple different ways people say that, but just, maybe mind map a little bit, just take some time and do that inner contemplation and kind of start to kind of create a plan for that. And make sure you're setting aside some time to plan. Or you can plan in your downtime at work. Sometimes my computer doesn't work. Sometimes I'm waiting for IT to fix something because IT, we have a lot of technical problems at my work recently. So if I've got an extra 5 minutes, I will just have my notebook and I'll just, start planning things, or just come up with ideas. It really helps you in the future. It helps future you to start planning now your practices. Okay, tip number 3. I want to say rule number 3. It's not a rule. There are no rules. Tip number 3: use small chunks of time. So do you have small chunks of free time? For example, something I've always told my students, like from the very beginning, and they laughed at me. But they ended up saying that, like, it's true. Put a book in the bathroom, because everybody poops. I mean, I'm just going to put that out there. Like, everybody goes to the bathroom. You're going to sit there and do your business, and you can either play a game on your phone, which is fine, or you can save that for when you're trying to fall asleep, and instead, read a chapter in a book, or read a couple pages even. Just, just having a book, like a witchy practice book, whatever that might be for you. That could be an herb book. It could be like a Wicca 101 book. It could be, a self-help book. Anything that's going to help you strengthen your practice, throw that in the bathroom, because you have to be in there. I mean, your body will make you. Your body will make you take that break and go to the bathroom. So it's a good way to be productive. So also, when we're talking about like your ideal practice, like, think about what is something you can do in 5 minutes. If you think about it, you can do silent meditation for 5 minutes. It might seem like it takes half an hour if you're new to that silent meditation. But if you're like, okay, I have probably 5 minutes that I can do something right now while I'm waiting for the oven to preheat, or I'm waiting for my chicken to cook, whatever. You can take that 5 minutes and really turn it around and use that 5 minutes really productively and meditate. Or, if you're going to do an herbal working, like that's what I did. I did a working this, I did the beginning of a working this weekend, and it meant I had to get a lot of herbs and spices together. So I had 5 minutes and I just got all the herbs and spices together. And I just put them on my desk. So they were in my eyeballs. So I would stop putting off doing what I needed to get done. So what can you do in 5 minutes? What can you do when you have an extra 10 minutes? What can you do when you have an extra 15 minutes? So think about the options of what you can do. Again, harken back to your ideal practice. Can you do a 15-minute yoga thing if that's your jam? Do sun salutations for 15 minutes? Like, what can you do for 15 minutes? What can you do for 10 minutes? Think about that. Okay, so that is tip number 3. Tip number 4 is use what you have. So if you're super busy, you don't have time to go. You probably don't have time to go to the metaphysical shop, especially if you're in a place where a metaphysical shop is hard to find, or you have to drive half an hour plus to get to a metaphysical shop. So use what you have. If you are like me, you have a spice cabinet, and those spices can help you in your witchcraft practice. You don't need to have special, like, I bought this from a witchy store, cayenne pepper. And sometimes that cayenne pepper is not good. I will tell you that the food grade herbs that we have, food grade herbs and spices that we have, are quality wise are A+ compared to some of the shit that I have seen in metaphysical shops. So there's a local metaphysical shop that I've been to, and like the jars are all dusty and the herbs are all dusty. I don't know how long they've been. They're like in these giant jars, and it's just, the quality isn't as good as actual food grade herbs. So go ahead, raid your spice cabinet. I made this, except for one thing, is all from my spice rack in my kitchen. So use what you have. Also, if you have the need for specific things, grow them. You can just start a garden. And again, I know you're super busy, but if you have a little bit of time on the weekend, you can just go to Lowe's, pick up some stuff. Really, we talk like gardening is the hardest thing in the world. Like, oh, look at my garden. It was so much work. But most of the time, like, you don't have, at least for me, like, you don't have to, like, it's not as much work as a lot of us make it out to be. You get some things, you put it in the dirt, you water them every day, especially when it's super hot, and then you let them grow, and it will give you vegetables or flowers or leaves or whatever it is that you need. Of course, you want to kind of check to make sure that what you buy will survive in your zone, because we all are zoned differently because of our climate. But you can just go and actually grow your own awesome things. Keep your jars. Your jelly jars, your condiment jars, your bottles, your olive oil bottles, all of these things. Oh, especially if you drink, if you ever get like the little alcohol bottles, those are amazing. And sometimes if I go to Bevmo, like to pick something up, I'll look through the like little, the like little shot bottle things, and I just pick the coolest ones, and then I just buy them. And then I will drink the alcohol, and I will clean the bottles, and then you can reuse those bottles for like cool potion things. I actually ended up selling quite a few of those bottles at the most recent local Pagan Pride Day. We do it as a fundraiser for my coven, but I sold these bottles, and I think I probably paid like $4 for it full of alcohol after I drank it or whatever years and years ago, and I washed it and I made sure it was super clean and sanitized, and then I turned around and sold it for $5. So you also can do that, and you don't have to buy it from somebody. You can just go to like your local liquor store or even 7-Eleven or whatever and buy these cute little bottles. So you just use what you have. Keep your jars, run them through the dishwasher. Dishwashers are amazing at cleaning those sorts of things. Also using what you have. And I've talked about this a little bit about crowdsourcing answers to questions that you have the answer inside of you. That sentence didn't make sense, but that's fine. It's been a long day for me. So, so sometimes we feel like we should be asking oh, I saw a raven, what does that mean? Or, oh, I felt like this, what does that mean? But I fully believe, one of my core beliefs, and one of the things I try to like put across as much as possible in this group, is that you have all the answers inside of you, right? You just need to access them. So if you have a question about something, you're like, what does this mean? What does this dream mean? What does this card mean? Just take some time to journal about it. And I'm not saying you need to have like a journal where you write down everything, because some people are perfectionists and they're like, my handwriting isn't perfect and my this isn't perfect, and all of that. But just put your pen to paper. And if you don't really care for journaling, I get it. You can also use markers and do mind mapping instead, just like you would cluster, and just instead of just writing lines and lines, which is great and works for me. Both of these work for me. I really enjoy mind mapping. So when I have a question, I'll write it and I'll circle it, and I'll use different colors. Scooter, get back up there. Hold on. Come here. Get up there now. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, my child is getting out of control. Okay, so journal to ask yourself these questions, because you can post and wait for people to answer. And please, if you have questions, always feel free to post in this group. That's what this group is for. We have an amazing amount of people, so if you don't feel like journaling it or you want an outside opinion, post your question in this group. We have people who are brand new. We have people on all different paths. We have people in groups. We have people who are solitary. We have such a wide variety of opinions that if you post a question, you're going to get a lot of really cool answers. So don't forget to use this group as a resource. And just remember that shopping isn't always necessary. Like, you don't need to buy things. Really, like, look around and see what you actually have. If you need cloth for a poppet, you might have some rags that you can use. That sort of thing. If you don't have polyfill for your poppet, you might have some cotton balls. Like, it works out. Just really kind of think about what you have, because we tend to just have a lot of things, and we could really be using a lot of these things for your practices. And I'm beginning to personally really realize how I guess multi-purpose a lot of the things that we have can be. All right, so that was tip number 4, use what you have. Tip number 5 is kitchen witchery, which, spoiler alert, is going to be like my next book after the book I'm working on is out. I'm doing a book on kitchen witchery. So kitchen witchery, if you've never used kitchen witchery, it's not just cooking. When I talk about kitchen witchery, I talk about using what you have and using your intuition. If you are part of our kitchen witchery challenge, you will kind of know what I'm talking about. All right. One way you can do that is seasonal eating. Like, that's a really super easy way to kind of align yourself to the energies of the wheel of the year is seasonal eating. So spring, eat spring things. Summer, eat summer fruit. Fall, eat your root vegetables. Winter, eat comfort food. So, I mean, that's obviously super simplified, but there are ways to see like what is in season in your area. And again, it's going to differ here in Southern California than it is going to differ in like rural Serbia. Like, it's going to be different, right? Like, so, do a little bit of research when you can and think about and see what is in season and eat that. If you don't have time to do that research, most of the time what's in season is going to be on sale. So just check your grocery ads, or if you don't have, you just automatically throw your grocery ads in the recycling. There's an app called Flip with 2 P's, I believe. And that's where I look at my grocery ads. So in the summertime, you'll notice like tomatoes are $1 a pound. Like, if something is less than $1 a pound, then it's probably in season. Also, intentional cooking, and I'm planning on adding more of this sort of thing to my Instagram. I posted a couple weeks ago about a salad I was making, and I talked about kind of the associations with that salad. Like, it was a very like watery salad, and I said, okay, so like lettuce itself and it was romaine lettuce. So, it's kind of like wet and crispy. It has an association with water, and Caesar dressing also has an association with water, not just because it's liquid, but Caesar dressing also has anchovies in it. I don't know if you knew that, but so we've got this like super watery thing. So if you want to sow, placid, balanced emotions, you might want to just think about making a Caesar salad. So I'm planning on posting more of those sorts of tips on my Instagram, which is Witch Coach Ivy Rose. I think if you go to either my website at ivyroselatchford.com or my page, I'm pretty sure it'll tell you where to go. But it's Witch Coach Ivy Rose. I'm planning on posting more of those things there. But it's about intentional cooking. Like, we have like all of these spices, right? So if I'm using onions and garlic, I might be creating something and thinking about protection. It's all about the energy that you're putting into your food. And it's really not that hard to do that because, you're stirring clockwise instead of counterclockwise or whatever. Like, it all kind of falls into place once you start really doing it. Thinking about the spices, thinking about the foods that you're using and what those correspondences are. And I'm not saying get out your book and look up like what is lettuce, but really you don't even really have to do that. Just like look at your apple, look at your orange, look at whatever it is that you're doing, like your onion. Okay, I'm just going to go back to onion. Onions have layers. If you're trying to like kind of peel back the layers of somebody and understand them better, that might be something you might want to put onion in something for that person. So, or, vice versa, whatever. It's just like an example of like how you can mentally make these connections. And that's the most important thing, especially with kitchen witchery. And yeah, books can help. I have some links that I have saved about food, but really it's your connection with the food that you're making, and you're going to make food anyway. So just, mindfully think about what you're putting in there, and, mindfully think when you're stirring and you're cooking, like think about the love that you're putting into it or whatever, or what poison. No, I'm just kidding. How you're poisoning your family. No, but really just like be intentional with what you're doing. The way you're stirring, if you've got salt, like think about like, I want protection for my family before you salt your food, etc. So that's another layer that you can bring to your regular everyday life that is witchy. Just use what you have and use your intuition. Tip number 6, I like to call portable soul craft. And for some reason, soul craft just came to me and I couldn't let it go. So I'm just going to call it portable soul craft. And what this means is all of the crafting that you can do that has to do with your soul and your mind and your body on an everyday basis. Like, you don't need tools, you don't need anything. And let me explain what I mean by that. So we all kind of know, I hope, that the power of witchcraft is not in all the things that we have. It is within your own self. Now, you can access all of these different energies, but also you can focus in on yourself and you can work on strengthening your connection to self, your connection to the elements, your connection to the other energies, your connection to deity. And all you need is yourself. You don't need a book. You don't need a journal. You don't need herbs or crystals or this or that. Like, all you need is yourself. And for a busy witch, not having to have all of these things is a boon. So the first thing I want to talk about is visualization. If you've worked with me for a while or you've watched my live streams, I always say like the 4 foundation skills to any like magical or spiritual path is visualization, meditation, observation, and contemplation. Hands down. So I always keep coming back to that. And visualization is so key. It allows us to kind of dial into the energies when we are first starting to work with energy. It allows us to visualize achieving our goals, which can really help us in our mundane life and our magical life. So one portable thing we have is that visualization. And I'll share with you one thing that I started to do. And I'm going to tell you, I have really started integrating a lot of these small practices in my life. And I feel so fucking connected, like really connected, like way more connected than I've felt in a long time. So I am not bullshitting you or blowing smoke up your ass. Like, these things will really make you feel more connected. So when I can't sleep, if you're one of those people who just lay their head down on their pillow and you just fall asleep, I am so jealous. I am so jealous because I have problems getting to sleep. So what I started to do, if I can't sleep, I don't count sheep. I don't put music on. I don't, whatever. Instead, I visualize. I choose something and I visualize about it. So that could be being successful in my business. That could be what I want to do on my witchy path. That could be what I'm going to do for the next full moon. That could be, whatever like goal that I want to achieve. That's what, at the moment when I'm trying to fall asleep, that's what I start visualizing. So I'm physically I'm laying in bed visualizing what it's going to look like when I achieve XYZ. And just like this, not only has for some reason helped me sleep better, which I'm not really sure why that has helped, but I'm into it. I'm not going to question it, but it really makes me feel like solid about not only knowing what it is that I want, but like really being connected to my goals and to my desires and to my actual will. And I usually fall asleep while I'm visualizing it. But it helps me really feel connected to all of those things. Another facet of that portable soul craft is intuition. Make sure that you're checking in with your intuition, because your intuition will very rarely steer you wrong. So that could be, what spice am I going to use in my goulash, or what way should I take to work? Allow yourself some time to listen to your intuition, listen to your inner voice, or listen to your guides, whatever, however you see that, and just really focus on that and allow yourself the time to really kind of listen and follow through on whatever your intuition is telling you. So again, that could be going to work. It could be what color am I going to paint with, or what am I going to make for dinner, even all of those things, instead of going, and using your brain, well, we had this and this date, and I should make chicken because we have chicken. Kind of just check in with your intuition and ask yourself, like, what should I make for dinner? Or how should I go to work? Or what should I do tonight? Or what, what could possibly be the answer to XYZ problem or question? Just check in with your intuition and allow that to kind of come through. Also, work on mindfulness and that skill observation. Here's another example. At my work, I have to park kind of far. And I did a video on this like a really long time ago, but I have to park pretty far. So it's really, really annoying to have to park. I park far and then I have to walk all the way to my office, and it annoys me because I just want to get to work. I just want to sit there and really start being productive, and instead I have to do this like long walk to the office door. And so it was really bugging me, and I started being really resentful. So I would be so annoyed. I'm like, I can't believe I have to walk this far. I'm really annoyed. I should have gotten here earlier so I could get a better parking space. And all of that energy is not energy I really want to start my day with, right? Like, I don't want to start my day resentful. Like, that's kind of setting myself up for failure. So I decided that I'm going to take the time to walk from my car to the office door, and likewise in the evening from my office door to my car, and I'm going to be mindful. And by mindful, I mean I'm going to be paying attention to my surroundings and not just observe them as a passive observer, but listen to the bird song, look at the birds, what's happening, what is happening in the trees. The trees are now bud. I will tell you, like, we have like a sweet gum tree and it's beginning to bud, well, it was budding. It's really beginning to the leaves are getting to come out. But, I pay attention to those things now. And so when you are observant and when you are mindful of your surroundings, not only are you not setting yourself up for a terrible resentment day, but you're allowing yourself to align with these seasonal earth cycles as well. I can tell you that the ficus tree has had leaves for a really long time, but the sweet gum tree looked like it was dying, and it had these beautiful buds, and now the leaves are beginning to come out again. And when you're doing these things and you're noticing, oh, there are no leaves, or there are tons of leaves, oh, the seed pods are dropping, or hey, there were no birds, and now there's a little bit of bird song, and 2 weeks later you'll be like, there's a ton of bird song. It's a lot. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, I'm paying attention to what's going on. But what you're really doing subconsciously is aligning yourself with those earth cycles in a way that you can't align yourself with unless you are actually paying attention and observing, like being an active observer of these cycles. So, and you would have to walk to your door, or you'd have to walk, you park in the parking lot and you walk to the grocery store door or whatever. You have to do that anyway. So why not allow yourself the time and the energy and the paying attentionness to what is happening? It allows you to align so much better. Like, oh, that's a beautiful breeze. Oh, the breeze is cool. Oh, the breeze is warm. Just allow yourself to be in the moment and observe what is going on. That's what our ancestors were kind of forced to do that because, they had to grow the crops and pay attention to what's happening. Are the birds eating the seeds? Like all of these things. We are not forced to do that. So we have a little bit of a disconnection, but kind of making that intentional activity to really do that allows you to really align with that. And then again, contemplation, which is kind of like mental journeying. If you have a question, allow yourself to really just think on it. Like, okay, well, for example, like if I'm feeling a spiritual disconnect, if you are, let me know. I have a video for you. But, what can I do to solve that spiritual disconnect? And just don't put your phone away. Nothing terrible is going to happen if you are not looking at your phone or your computer or your tablet or whatever, and just take some time to just think on it. Okay, it's like journaling, except it's just in your mind. Ask yourself a question, see what personally comes up. Because we spend so much time distracting ourselves. We've got, I'm sitting here, I'll watch Hulu, and we've got games on our phone, and we have all of these things, and we have people on Facebook, and, news to watch. It's terrible, and all of these things. But, we're kind of distracting ourselves from the inner peace and the inner amazingness that is you, right? You have this inner amazing inner energy, but sometimes it gets a little shadowy, and it's kind of easier to just distract ourselves. But when you center yourself and ask yourself a question and see what comes up, you're doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're constantly distracting yourself with other things. Okay. So before I get to number 7, I'm just going to really quickly kind of just go back and remind us of what these 7 tips were. We've got number 1, which is define your practice. Number 2, which is prepare in advance. Number 3 is use small chunks of time. Number 4 is use what you have, your jars, etc. Jars, herbs, you've got all kinds of things already. Just use what you have. Number 5 is kitchen witchery. Number 6 is that portable soul craft. And finally, number 7, the 7th tip for a busy witch is forgive yourself. When you don't take time to practice, when things don't work out as planned, just make sure to forgive yourself. Do not get hung up on, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad witch, I should have done that, I should have done it. Don't should all over yourself, okay? That's fine. You're a busy person with an actual life. Don't get hung up on things, and make sure you're doing your best to not compare yourself to other people and other people's practices, because your life isn't the same as that other person's life. You're enough just what you're doing. You're doing tons of things. You're processing so much in your mind and your emotions and your body. You don't need one more thing to berate yourself over. So just let it go. Do your very best to let it go and forgive yourself, and then think about what you're going to do next. Okay? I do this all the time. Nature great at telling the weather too, for sure. Oh my gosh, Charlotte, for sure. I can tell now. I didn't used to be able to tell, but I can tell when I go outside if it's going to rain or not. It's not just the rain smell, but the wind and the feeling in my body of the weather. But yeah, for sure. That's another really good thing about being very observant. You can really kind of tell what the weather's going to do. But really just make sure you are gentle with yourself and forgive yourself. And if you're I have these plans, I'm going to do this ritual for full moon, and you feel like shit because you got your period or whatever is bothering you, or your body hurts or whatever, and you're I just can't do it, and you're really upset about that, just let it go. It's okay. It's okay. The world is going to keep spinning, and you have all of these tools with you, within you, to connect with the energies. And you don't have to do a huge thing to connect. And that's really kind of what this path is about, is connection with the energies of herbs and crystals and earth and the moon and the goddess and the god, whatever your belief system is. It's about connection. So connect with yourself and make sure that you are forgiving yourself. There's no reason to feel, I know some people feel shame because they didn't do something that they thought they were going to be able to do, or they're mad at their circumstances or whatever. And those things don't serve you. So make sure, if you are feeling any of that right now, if you're feeling any guilt or shame, or I should be better, or, all of those, just take a deep breath and release those, because you're going to have every opportunity to do other things. Okay? So that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. All right. And so again, I'll just go through it really quickly. Define your practice, prepare in advance, use up your small chunks of time, put that book in the bathroom, use what you have. Don't forget about kitchen witchery. You have all this portable skills and portable practices you have in your body. And last but not least, forgive yourself. Okay? Nobody's perfect. Nobody has this perfect, amazing practice. I guarantee that even the elders, even all of these people that you might see on Instagram, all these there are witchcraft influencers. These people are doing the best they can, just like you are. And they have days where they don't fulfill the practices that they want to fulfill also. So you're not alone. You're enough. And make sure that you forgive yourself when you're not able to do everything that you want to do. All right, so I'm going to let you go with that. And I hope you enjoyed this Magical Monday Live. And I will see you. Well, I'll see you on the group. If you ever need to contact me, post, tag me, DM me, whatever you need. Just let me know how I can best support you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.